Well, you know, my wife said that, you know, there'd be only two things that I would do with my life, and one would be a photographer and the other would be a firefighter. And I said, no, I wouldn't be a firefighter. And she goes, oh, of course you would. You love it. And I go, I do love it as a fire photographer, but not as a firefighter. For 40 years now, I've been blown away by what they do.
I've been up and down in prison. I've lived inside this cell, surrounded by these demons and the fiery gates of hell. I blame my mother and my father for the man that I've become. I was born into this family. I was born the devil's son. Oh, I ain't gonna see my freedom until the day they lay me in the ground. It's such a hard way to fall.
I guess no feeling like it really is. You know, people can say what they want to, but most of the guys are really here for, you know, because they just love running into burning buildings. It's a good time, you know. Who wouldn't like doing that?
These walls is such a hard way to fall.
That was one of my first fires in Atlanta. It was a fatal fire over by Cascade and Ralph Abernathy. The paper was kind of reluctant about running it. My name is John Spink. I'm a staff photographer with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and I have been with the paper since 1984. I was with the Kansas City Star and Times. Before that, since I was 17, I've been a photographer. I took a photography course in high school, and it all began there. Well, growing up with my dad, it was kind of like a moving target. He had so many different positions in his career. He was military. He was a military reservist. He was a major general in the Air Force. And then Dad shifted in 1970 and went into city government work. So they brought Dad in as director of the fire department. Yeah, my high school years, you know, Saturday and Sunday, when it came to the weekends, that was sleeping in. And Dad used to come in and, you know, kind of shake me in bed and say, hey, we're opening up a new fire station. Would you like to come with Mom and I? And I'm kind of like half awake looking out of one eye behind the covers going, you've got to be kidding. I just roll back over and go to sleep. Well, I guess like my first kind of like baptism into fire was the Country Club Plaza fire in 1977. It was in September, and I was a copy boy at the Kansas City Star and Times. And it got to the point where they just had so many people out, so many different places that they really needed some more photographers. So I kept on looking over at the city editor across the desk going, like pointing to the camera, and he finally conceded and said, okay, get your stuff and go. Once I got there, a business exploded a couple of blocks over. So we all went down there and they were pulling hose off the fire truck and this thing's just roaring. And you know, that was like my first big fire. But most of Atlanta's fire stations when I arrived in the 80s, they were older stations. But there was one element in Atlanta that was at least for the city of Atlanta Fire Department, that was very similar to the Kansas City, Missouri Fire Department, and that was a very aggressive fire department. They were a fire department that fought fire inside out. That means when they got to a fire, they wouldn't just stand back and pour water on it. They were going to go in. And they were going in for two reasons. Number one, to get in their primary, secondary searches and look for people that might be trapped inside. And number two, they want to find the seat of the fire and get to it immediately. And that was something I picked up on coming here. I said, yep, these boys go in, they get it.
get ready to select that spot. 18.
Squad 4 is, it's a multi-role apparatus. These men and women are the most trained up firefighters on the department.
The squad is a heavy rescue company. We are tasked with technical rescue. We respond to fires in the entire city, anything over 2 stories and above, or certain other parameters like entrapment, exposures, things like that.
We're a little oddball, meaning that we don't carry any water, any ladders. We do hazmat, confined space, trench, structural collapse, plus we're manpower on a fire. We're a jack of all trades.
When I first applied with Atlanta, they put out a calendar of all the new fire trucks. And my dad got one from his department, and he was looking through there, and it was when they first got the new squad here. And he told me, he's like, that's what you want to be on. Those are the guys that know what they're doing.
No matter what the assignment is, we do it, and we do it to the best of our ability. That's one thing that our officers here really push on us is be better than everybody else.
It's a rewarding job. It's a typical government agency, and where there's a lot of bureaucracy throughout. Good, bad, or indifferent, it doesn't really matter. It's there, it exists, and there's nothing we can do about that. But it's pretty rewarding.
I'm the first generation in my family to be a firefighter. I'm originally from South Georgia and didn't really know anything about firefighting unless it was volunteer.
I've kind of always been drawn to it, I guess, like since I was a little kid, There's plenty of pictures around the house, me climbing on fire trucks and down the road. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida, and go visit the stations, and just kind of always thought about it being something I'd want to do.
Folks always ask if I like my job, and I'll tell them, nah, I don't really like it. And they'll be like, why don't you like it? It's like, because I love my job.
And there's nothing like a good fire. Nothing like getting your adrenaline going. I haven't found anything else to get my adrenaline going that way.
Going to fires. That is the best part.
I love going to fires. That's the best part of it.
Hell yeah. Woo, Balls to the wall, hard as you can go, Go in there and break some stuff. I mean, that's what we live for, right? That's why we all become firemen, so we can run in when people are running out.
If something exciting happens, we're going.
Let's go, John Spink.
That's back when Squad 4 was Squad 5. That was also like one of my first fires in Atlanta. You see the Squad 5 on his mask when you're on your way to the fire. You've got an excitement, and depending on what you're hearing on the scanner, I mean, if you're starting to hear about possible entrapment and all those things, your heart begins to race because you just can't get there quick enough. And once you get to the scene, you try to find a place that's going to be safe enough distance away from the trucks and in case they need more apparatus in there. You don't want to be in the way, so you park far enough away. And just grabbing all your stuff and getting down there, you immediately start just scanning the place, just seeing who's doing what, because a fire scene is basically controlled chaos. I mean, they know what they're doing. The chief knows what he's doing. And for many of them, it's intuitive, and plus they've got the radios, so they're being told what to do at the same time. But if you get there, you got people pulling hose, you've got all kinds of shouting going on, you're hearing the dieseling of these trucks, the spray of the water from the connects are all over the place. A lot of times the hose layouts look like spaghetti everywhere. I mean, you're just trying to stay out of the way and get a read on the fire, whether they're going in after people that may be trapped. You're scanning for the people who may be the owners of the house, if it's a house, or the owners of the business, if it's a business, trying to see what their reaction is, making sure that everybody's safe. And then at the same time, you're trying to capture the firefighters at work, whether they be up on top of the roof venting it or inside the windows, And then, of course, you're always catching action out of the side of your eyes. Sometimes, if you see a lot of action out of the side of your eyes and you look over, all of a sudden you notice that they're carrying somebody out. And then all of a sudden, you're turning your camera this way. It's a constant 360 scan. That's what you want to do at a fire.
It's a group effort. Everybody needs to be on track. And then if you're the rescuer, it's all on you.
Rescuing people is actually the best part about it. I mean, it feels really good. It feels like I've really accomplished something.
Atlanta has a lot of vacant houses. Just because they're vacant and boarded up doesn't mean they're not occupied. We have a huge amount of homeless in Atlanta, and they're going to seek refuge, especially in the winter months. So we have to treat every house fire as that somebody's trapped in there until it's proven otherwise.
You never get used to seeing people suffer. I mean, you just don't. And I know for many of the firefighters, because they have a job to do, for many of them, pulling somebody out of a fire that doesn't make it is difficult for them. It's difficult enough. I try to show the humanity of the firefighters. I mean, they're human just like us. The last thing I want to see what happens in the paper is, people reading about fire deaths as a statistic. I'd rather have them put them there in the photos to allow them to really get a sense of, this was somebody's mother, this was somebody's father, this was somebody's child that passed. How would you feel? And that's what I want my photos to say in those situations, just by, the image themselves.
It's not always a safe job, it's not, the public trusts us because we put some things at risk, and that's why they trust us.
That's actually a very dangerous place to be. If you'll notice, a lot of the sensationalized fires that you're going to see on television is where there's roof collapse. A lot of firefighters fall to their deaths when they're on the roof. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be able to recognize the signs of collapse. You've got to have your roof ladder and work off the ladder so that if the roof does go underneath you, that you're protected. And then you're exposed to the elements. This sounds odd, but it's also fun.
Yeah, it's fun. It's probably one of the funnest jobs, funnest thing to do on the job. And in Atlanta, it's actually surprising. We're one of the only, departments in Metro Atlanta that do vertical ventilation. Basically what we do, we get off the truck. We actually have two teams there. One team is designated for a vent team. Usually consists of 4 men with an officer. He is the vent boss. He's in charge of all the operations. So as we get there and the call is needed for vertical ventilation, the crew runs up with all the equipment in hand. Vent boss, he picks out the area where he wants to vent the roof at. We're just going to be somewhere close to the fire as possible at the highest point if he can get there.
It's hot. You got to carry your ladders up there. You have to have your tools up there. You have to be in full breathing apparatus, full gear. And, on a 95-degree day, that is the worst place to be.
Sawman, you're cutting the hole. You have the vent boss. He tells you where he wants the hole. He reads it with a tick. Start making your cuts. After the 3rd cut, you got your punch out guy, and he comes out and starts punching out the roof.
The biggest thing I guess with vertical ventilation is it's fast. It's got to be done fast-paced, because that means the guys are inside taking a beating. Any possible victims are inside taking a beating, and the faster we can get up there and cut that hole and get all that heat and smoke out, then the better visibility is going to be. The better it's going to be to see the fire. The better it's going to be for the victims inside.
Brotherhood, as it's called, well, I can't really figure out when that term was coined, but that's what it's known as, the Brotherhood. Whether you're a woman or a man, it's still going to be the Brotherhood, okay? And that's understood universally.
It's great. I enjoy it. You're with these people. A third of my life, I'm going to be with them, and it's fun. I look forward to coming to work. My wife kind of gets jealous because I look forward to going to work. Well, I call these my brothers, and my sisters here, and so it's like a big family. It's like having family for Thanksgiving every third day. You're cooking for 14 people. It's fun. There's always going to be bickering of who's going to do what and what's for dinner and all that. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy being in a busy, crowded firehouse.
It's great. It's like a family. It's it's house. They call it the house, the firehouse. It's just like going home to your house. You live with the guys a lot, so there's a lot of different personalities that you got to work with. Some good, some not so good, but everybody, you're forced to get along. And the pranks tend to break some of the monotony, and it's team building, and you got to take it when it comes your turn.
What's the most interesting prank you've seen?
Firecrackers.
Well, I have seen a few.
We have no pranks. I've had some good stuff. I've had some good ones pranked on me years ago, right? You come outside, when I was a rookie, come outside for a crew picture. So you get dressed, you look all nice and pretty, and you walk outside, and on the roof, there's somebody there with a bucket of water. That was years ago. We don't do any pranks anymore.
They used to set up the beds to fall.
I've been flowered.
That's what they would do to the rookie. They'd short sheet their beds.
They've tried to leave me on a call. They painted my hook pink, my brand new hook, put glitter on it, and I had to keep it that way. I had to walk everywhere with it to the grocery store, and I had to tell everybody I got a new hook. And it stayed like that for months. Never a dull moment.
It's kind of like a fraternity house. Like you've seen. It's fun to come and hang out with the guys and joke and, do a little work, wash the truck, check off tools, clean tools, do a little training. We all cook and eat together. So that's the fun part of coming here and hopefully going to a fire.
If you're ever at a fire and you start to hear a bunch of shouting and see a bunch of firefighters all rushing toward one area of a structure, that usually means that they've got a mayday, and that means they got a firefighter in trouble. The only way I could really kind of describe the connection that goes on during a fire when somebody's in trouble is pretty much like the motto of the Marines, where leave no man left behind. That's how it is with a brotherhood. It's like, you got my back, I've got your back. There was a pretty big fire here, kind of known as the Low Water Mansion Fire, right?
That's correct, yeah. No, it was definitely a unique fire. It'll stand out, to me from now on. Later in the fire, there was a good amount of fire still in the attic, so we were sent up to go to a second floor window over a ladder and try and extinguish the fire in the attic. So I went in, pulled a little ceiling, and we flowed some water in the attic to try and knock it down. And then they called us out, and as we were coming back out the window, the roof collapsed. We didn't have any warning it was coming. I didn't hear anything, didn't see anything. Just heard a loud thump, and then we were under the roof. And then it was about 16 minutes. All the guys were able to, with saws and manpower, just cut and lift everything off, and was able to get me out. So if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here. I got third-degree burns over 15% of my legs and my hips. They said it was 16 or 15% of my body.
You got to really want it. You got to really want to do the job, because you're going to be going into a burning building. Nobody else is. It's a tough job. If it was easy, everybody else would do it. You're going to be asked to do stuff and be in environments it's not made for a human to survive. And you have to push through that, push through all your fear and come out the other side.
Well, early on, I really regretted not going to, some of those fire station openings with my dad. And I even regret more not have ever gone to a fire with him than I could have, back in the day. I remember like covering the Pope in 1993 in Denver. He showed up at the World Youth Day, and I remember I was riding the bus out to Cherry Park, I think was the name of the park, for this huge mass out there. And I was driving down, I was looking up at the clouds and how pretty, the Colorado sky is. My dad loved Colorado because his last Air Force assignment was at NORAD. So I was kind of thinking about a lot of this because I hadn't been to Colorado since maybe his retirement in '77, and we drove by the fire headquarters in Denver, and there's a huge statue in front of the headquarters. And, just came all rushing back, Dad being the fire director, and all those things kind of, came together during that trip. And, there's been a lot of times when I've been on fire scenes and, I've thought, that I think Dad's, pretty pleased with what I'm trying to do here and what I'm trying to show, and really felt, his presence there. And it kind of encapsulated a lot of, my passion for fire photography all these years that, it's been some kind of fun.
I've been up and down in prison. I've lived inside this cell, surrounded by these demons and the fiery gates of hell. I blame my mother and my father for the man that I've become. I was born into this family. I was born the devil's son. I ain't gonna see my freedom until the day they let me